You know what finally made me rethink everything I thought I knew about composting? I was standing next to a pile I'd been turning religiously every 5 days, sweating through my shirt in July, checking the temperature with a probe thermometer like I was nursing a sick animal, and I looked over at my Amish neighbor Eli's garden. His soil was darker than mine, his plants were bigger than mine, and his compost pile, he hadn't touched it in months. That moment broke something in my brain, because I'd been told my whole gardening life that good compost required work, turning, monitoring, activating, and here was a man growing better food than me with a pile he basically ignored. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how Amish families in Lancaster County approach cold composting, a method that takes almost zero effort and produces some of the richest soil I've ever put my hands in. And stick around to the end because I'll share a simple layering technique I learned from an Amish family that speeds up cold composting by weeks without adding any extra work. Now let me back up a little. I composted the hot method for close to 15 years, and I want to be fair, it worked. Hot composting works. You get finished compost in 4 to 8 weeks if you're diligent about it. But here's what nobody talks about: the labor cost. I was out there every few days with a pitchfork, in turning bins, checking moisture levels, making sure the carbon to nitrogen ratio was somewhere near 30-1. I treated composting like a second job, and when I first started visiting Amish homesteads around Lancaster County, this was maybe 12 years ago now, I noticed something that honestly confused me. They had compost, but they didn't have systems. No tumbler bins, no thermometers, no schedules taped to the barn wall. They just had piles, sometimes behind the barn, or sometimes at the edge of the garden. And those piles sat there. The principle behind it comes down to something the Amish and Mennonite communities share: a deep belief in patience and working with natural cycles. Instead of trying to force a faster timeline, they call it Gelassenheit, yielding to God's timing, letting things happen as they're meant to. And here's where the science backs them up. Research out of Cornell and Ohio State has shown that cold composting, and which just means letting organic matter decompose at ambient temperatures without active turning, retains significantly more mycorrhizal fungi and beneficial microbial diversity than hot composting. Hot composting kills weed seeds and pathogens, yes, but it also kills a lot of the biology you actually want in your soil. Cold composting keeps that biology alive. So let me walk you through how this actually works in practice, because it's simpler than you'd expect, but there are details that matter. The first thing Amish gardeners understand is that cold composting starts with what you put in the pile. Most conventional gardeners obsess over the green to brown ratio, 30 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen measured by volume. Amish families I visited don't measure anything, but they intuitively layer in a way that gets close to that ratio without thinking about it. They put down a thick base of straw or old hay, usually about 6 to 8 inches, and then add kitchen scraps, garden waste, or manure on top of that, maybe 3 to 4 inches worth, then more straw, then more scraps. The key is they never dump a huge load of one material. It's always layered, always mixed by nature of how they add to it over time. If you're in zones 6 or 7, like we are here in Lancaster County, you can start a cold pile anytime from early spring through late fall and expect usable compost within 6 to 12 months depending on your materials. Now here's where things really start to look different from a conventional setup. Amish families don't contain their cold compost in bins. Most of what I've seen are open piles, sometimes with a few old fence posts or pallets on 3 sides to keep things tidy, but never enclosed and never sealed. The reason matters: airflow. A cold pile needs passive airflow to keep the aerobic bacteria working. You don't need to turn it because the loose structure and open sides let oxygen reach the material naturally. I'll be honest with you, when I first switched to cold composting, I built this nice 3-bin system out of cedar and hardware cloth, and it actually slowed things down because I'd packed the material in too tight. An Amish friend looked at my setup and just said, "Loose. Let it breathe." That's when I tore out the hardware cloth and just used the posts as a frame. Things improved within a couple months. This next piece is one that I completely overlooked for most of my gardening life. Moisture management in a cold pile is different than in a hot pile. With hot composting, you're aiming for that wrung-out sponge feel, damp but not dripping. With cold composting, Amish gardeners let rain do most of the work. They don't cover their piles unless there's an extended period of heavy rain, more than 3 or 4 days straight. Otherwise, natural rainfall keeps the moisture where it needs to be. If you're in zones 8 or 9, where summers get dry and hot, you may need to give the pile a soak with a hose every couple of weeks during July and August. But up here in zones 3 through 5, natural precipitation handles it through most of the year. The Amish families I know in northern Indiana, well, that's zone 5, don't water their piles at all. They just let the seasons do the work. Now here's where the Amish approach really comes together, and this is where you start to see how it all connects to their larger system. Cold compost piles on Amish homesteads aren't separate from the garden, they're part of the garden's cycle. Manure from the animals goes into the pile, straw from the barn goes into the pile, kitchen scraps, spent crops, sheer weeds that haven't gone to seed, it all goes back. Nothing leaves the property. This is what makes their gardens so resilient over decades. They're not importing fertility from a bag, they're cycling it. And when the compost is ready, usually after about 8 to 12 months, sometimes a little longer for woody material, they spread it directly on the beds in fall or early spring, usually about 2 to 3 inches thick, and let the worms and soil biology pull it down. No tilling it in. You're just laying it on top. I've tested my soil every year for the last 6 years since switching to this method, and my organic matter has gone from about 3% to just over 7%. That's not overnight. That's 6 years of patience. But the trajectory is consistent and the results are real. Let me be straight with you about something. Cold composting is slow. There's no getting around that. If you need finished compost in 6 weeks for a spring planting, this isn't your method, at least not for that immediate need. Realistic first-year expectations are that you'll start a pile in spring, add to it through summer and fall, and have usable compost by the following spring. That's still a full cycle of beautiful, biologically alive compost for zero turning, zero monitoring, and about 5 minutes of effort a day tossing scraps on a pile. Improve your layering technique each year, and those timelines can tighten up, but I'd rather you start with honest expectations and be pleasantly surprised. If you're picking up what I'm putting down and you want more of these deep dives into how Amish families approach the garden, hit subscribe. I've got a lot more of these coming. Now let me show you the next piece. There are a few patterns I've noticed over the years, things that most gardeners do with composting that the Amish approach handles completely differently. The first one is the obsession with speed. I did this myself for years, so no judgment here. We treat composting like a race. How fast can I get finished product? The Amish don't think that way. They're always working a year ahead. They're spreading last year's compost while this year's pile is still breaking down. Once you shift to that cycle, speed stops mattering. The second pattern is over-managing, buying activators, inoculants, compost starters. I spent real money on those things. Amish families use none of them. The biology is already in the materials. You don't need to add it. The third pattern is treating compost as separate from the rest of the garden system. Conventional gardening books give you a chapter on composting, a chapter on soil, a chapter on pest control, like they're unrelated topics. The Amish don't do anything in isolation. The compost feeds the soil feeds the plants. Healthy plants resist pests. Spent plants feed the compost. It's one circle. Once you see it that way, everything changes. The last pattern is throwing away materials that should be going back into the pile. Eggshells, coffee grounds, wood ash from the stove, hair from a haircut, old cotton rags. Amish families waste almost nothing. If it was alive once, it can feed the pile. Now, here's something I picked up from an Amish family about 8 years ago that I haven't seen mentioned in any composting guide. They call it, well, they don't call it anything, and they just do it, but I think of it as the contact layer. When they start a new cold compost pile, they don't put it on bare ground. They lay down a single layer of partially finished compost from an older pile, just a thin layer, maybe an inch or two, directly on the soil where the new pile is going. This seeds the new pile with active biology from below. The microbes, the fungi, the worms, they migrate up into the new material from that contact layer. It's like giving the pile a running start without doing any extra work. I started doing this 6 years ago, and my cold piles consistently finish about 4 to 6 weeks faster than they did before. All it costs is a couple shovelfuls of old compost from a previous pile. It's the kind of thing you'd only learn from watching someone do it because it looks like nothing, but the biology makes it everything. That's what I've learned from Amish gardeners about composting: patience over performance, and systems over shortcuts, and trusting the biology to do what it was designed to do. If any of this changed how you think about your compost pile, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Tell me what you've been doing and what you might try differently. I read every one. Hit subscribe if you want more of these deep dives into how traditional communities grow food with methods that have worked for generations. Thanks for spending time with me today. I'll see you in the next one.